Hi, and welcome to Grandma Roseanne's Kitchen. And today we're going to do something that's going to be really fun. We're going to make fried fruit pies. Now, I have always loved them, but they're really hard to find someplace because if you go to like a fast food place, it's just gunk, you know. If you go to some nicer restaurants, there's really very little filling. There's a whole lot of crust, and I like the filling. So what we're going to do is just make our own. That way we can make them absolutely perfect. So what I'm going to do today is going to be a berry. You can use peaches, you can use plums, you can use just a single berry if you want blackberry or blueberry or raspberry. But what I did, because we're in January here, so my berries are not growing right now, so I just bought this, it's a triple berry blend. So it has blueberries, raspberries, blackberries in it. So I think this is going to be delicious. So it's just a frozen product. Anybody can get it anywhere at any time. What we're going to want is 20 ounces of this. So if you're using frozen fruit, if you're using fresh fruit, like when my peaches are abundant, which they will be in another few months, we'll just pick them right off the tree and make these pies with them. But again, only about 20 ounces is what we're looking for. You want to use a scale if you have one. If you don't, just use your best judgment on it. But when you use your scale, you want to be sure to tare it out. You always want to be sure to zero it out so that you know your container is not adding to the weight. Now I'm just going to put in about 20 ounces of berries into here. And these berries are wonderful. What's really nice when you buy frozen fruit like this, what it has been processed and picked was at its peak. So this is about as good as you're going to get it anywhere. Okay, that's about right. Okay, now then what we're going to do is we're going to add the sugar. And it's going to ask for about a half a cup of sugar. There's not a lot of sugar in this, which I really, really appreciate. You know, in case you're watching, you know, the calories a little bit, that kind of helps a little bit, but we're talking a fried pie, okay? So I don't know how much it really helps. And then just an eighth a cup of teaspoon of salt. Now we're going to take this and put it on the stovetop, and what it's going to do is it's just going to reduce and it's going to cook, and it'll take probably 14 to 17 minutes. Obviously, if you're doing something that's going to be fresh, it's going to be a lot less time than that. I have peaches that I canned from our garden, and I have those, so I will make a peach pie with those one of these days too, a fried pie, and see if you like that as well. But I think it's delicious. So what we're going to do is we're going to let this cook all the way down, and then it's going to get kind of jammy. We want it to be have a little bit of substance to it, but we don't want big old berries in it. So what we're going to do is just let this cook down. While this is doing what it needs to do, I'm going to make the crust. Now this is a different crust, so please don't use, because I made pie crust videos for you, please don't use that pie crust and try to fry it. It just does not work well. I will tell you that because I already tried it. So the crust I'm going to show you to make is the one you're going to want to fry with. All right. Okay, now we're ready to make the crust, and the crust is real easy. It really is. I'm going to use a Cuisinart because a lot of people have them, and it's easy to do in this. But if you don't, use your handy dandy little pastry cutter, or 2 knives will do it just as well. But I like simple, I like easy, so we're going to do it this way. So what we're going to do is put in 2 cups of flour, and I'm not sifting it, I'm just aerating it by mixing it up a little bit. I've been doing a lot of baking. I need to go get my flour. All right. And into this, we are now going to put 2 teaspoons of baking powder. And I like to give it a little bit of a swish there so that that baking powder gets mixed into that flour and it's not just a lump in there somewhere. And then into this, we're going to put in 6 tablespoons of melted butter that has been cooled. Now, I have a video up there on how to make clarified butter. It's really easy to do. I'm using clarified butter in here. I think it just gives you a pure crust. But if you don't have time or the inclination to do the clarified, just melt the butter. But be sure it's cooled. That's 1, 2. Let's do this. 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we're just going to pulse it just until it kind of starts looking like granulated sand. Just seconds. And then I'll show you what it looks like in just a second. See what this looks like? It just looks like wet sand. That's what you're looking for, is that consistency right there. Where when you press it, it has some form to it, but as you let it go, it just becomes sandy again. And then to this, we're going to add a 1/2 cup of milk. Do you see this is really completely different than any other pie crust that you have had? And then we want to let that form. So we'll put it back in. You see how fast this is? And so easy. You see it's becoming dough. You see how it's doing that? See what it's doing here? See what it's done? It's not falling apart anymore. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this on a little tiny bit of floured counter. Oh, those berries are smelling so good, you guys. Oh, they're smelling delicious. I love berry anything. I love berry pies, berry compost, berry everything. All right, now I'm just going to incorporate this a little bit here. Just by doing that. Okay, just want to get all those good pieces that are trying to escape into part of the dough. There. So good. All right, now we're going to cut this into 8 equal pieces because we are going to make 8 pies. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this way first. And then 2, 4, 6, 8. That should be about right. 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay. Then we're going to roll them into a ball. Like this. It needs to be a little bit more incorporated. There you go. You can feel it. If it starts falling apart on you, just pat it out a little bit, okay? And then flatten it out and then just put it on parchment paper. We're going to do this 8 times. You don't have to sit there and watch me for 8 times to do this. So let me get this done, and then after this, then we let it rest for 20 minutes, okay? See, it's really handling very, very, very nicely. Kind of pat it out. All right, let me finish the rest and then I'll come back. All right, so what we have done is we divided the dough into 8 equal pieces, rolled it into a ball, and flattened it out. So this is what it looks like right now. Then what we have to do is we have to refrigerate them. And that's almost any dough that you have. It works better if it's a chilled dough in order for you to work with it. But you don't want it to dry out. So what we're going to do is just put some plastic wrap around it. And when I look at these, they look just like dough to you, but to me, they look like Mama and Papa, Michael, Matthew, Maverick, cameraman, me, and whoever else might pop over. Okay? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pop them into the refrigerator. But before I do that, I want you to see this. Isn't this beautiful? I mean, this is out of our garden yesterday. We went in and did a lot of really, really heavy pruning because it's that time of year. So my rose bushes are naked. They have no leaves. They have sticks coming out of it. These were the last 2 blossoms of the year, so I brought them in so we could enjoy them. All right, this is going in for 20 minutes. And then let's take a look at what's happening here with the berries. Do you see how they're starting to thicken? We're starting to get a lot of the liquid out of there. I took a taste of it a minute ago. Oh my word, was it good. So we're going to let that come all the way down to a jammy texture. So we've probably got like another 10 minutes of this, another 10 minutes of that. So I will be back in 20 minutes and we will make pies. All right, well, it has been 20 minutes. Our fruit has reduced, and this is what it should be looking like. Do you see how it's looking really jammy? Now, it's still very, very hot. I just transferred it to a bowl. And what we're going to do now is put in 2 teaspoons of lemon, because what we know in life is lemon makes everything better. So there you go. I'm going to mix that up, and then I'm going to put this in the refrigerator, and it's going to refrigerate until it's cool, which is going to be, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes, something like that. But I will tell you, I just tasted this again, and I am loving life because this is fantastic. All right, see you back in a couple. Well, it's been 20 minutes, so these have had enough time in the refrigerator to where the dough is going to be fairly easy to work with. So I'm just going to grab one of them here, and what we want to do is we want to roll it out to about a 6-inch disc. Now, this mat that I have here, I really like this mat. I think I've mentioned it on some of the other videos. I got it from Amazon, and it really helps you a lot with being able to manipulate your dough. So it also has rings around it, so you're able to tell where you are in diameter. So this wants to be about 6 inches in diameter. So what we're going to do is just start rolling this dough out. Now the dough it's really a good dough, you guys, it really is. So you're not really going to have a problem rolling it out. But like anything else, when it's starting, it's cold. So you want to be able to just let it warm up a little bit, work with it, don't worry about it. Now I turned on the oil and I'm going to start heating that. That needs to fry, this little pie needs to fry between 350 and 375 degrees. You want to watch your oil because it's pretty easy for that oil to get up higher than that. You don't want that oil too high, otherwise it's going to cook the outside of the crust, but it won't cook the inside of the crust. So you want to be careful about that. And you don't want the oil too low in temperature, because it's going to absorb it into the crust and it's not going to be as flavorful as it should be. So you want it between 350 and 375. So I'm just adding a little bit of flour, not too much, just a little bit, just so I can keep working the dough. And it really is a very, very nice dough. You're going to find it pretty easy to work with this dough. Some doughs are not so polite. This one is pretty nice. So about 6 inches is what we're working for, which means you're going to thin it out pretty good. Try to keep it into the shape of a disc. And if you're like me, that's never going to happen. So don't worry about it. Other things you can worry about. This one you don't have to worry about. So you do the best you can do. Just keep rolling that dough out. Try to get as much of it as you can. If you start going towards the edges, you're going to find you're going to be able to get a little bit more width out of it. There. It's coming along just fine. Now I do want to test the oil because I don't want it to get too hot. Now I have one of those really high-end, you can use it in the oven. The thermometer, you can use it on your grill, you can use it anywhere. I'm quite sure you could use it in outer space. It's all Bluetooth. It's so flipping hard to understand how to figure it out. So I just got this. It's Weber. It costs $10, and boy, I'm telling you, it is wonderful. So I'm checking to see where our temperature is. We're at 182 degrees. So keep on going with this. Takes a little bit of time. Don't worry about that. We're enjoying the process. I really think part of cooking is not having any stress attached to it. I believe the joy comes in the process. Of course, it comes in the result of the product that you're making. And I love feeding my family and I love feeding people. I really do. But I love the process. So there we are. Not perfect. Good enough for me. We're going to fold it over. You're going to see how good this will be. Okay? Now what we're going to do is take about 3 tablespoons of this outrageous, see how jammy it is now? Of this outrageous filling. And then we're going to take some water, go along the edges, and this is going to help seal it. And then fold it over. And what you want to do here is you want to press out some of that air. Okay? Now it looks like a pie, doesn't it? Now it looks like a pie. So we want to make it a little bit more attractive. Of course, I've got the biggest knife in the world right here. So we're just going to kind of cut around the edges a little bit here, just so it looks a little bit nicer. There. And then you want to take your fork and you just want to press it down. You're doing that for 2 reasons. Number 1, it is decorative, which is nice, but more importantly, you're sealing it. You push some of the air out of it, and you're sealing it. Whoa, see, that's a problem that you want to know about now, not later. We can patch that. There. Okay. I'm moving this over in hopes that we're at the right temperature. So now we're going to cook it at about 1.5 minutes on each side. This cooked for 1.5 minutes on each side. And what I want you to take a look at here, remember when we had a break in the dough and it kind of seeped out a little bit and then I just filled it, I added a little bit more dough to it. This is what happened with it. It was perfectly fine. It's not a problem with it. So you want to go ahead and patch what you need to. And then you're going to top it with sugar. I love my little toy here. And then I will flip it to the Hollywood side. Right there. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a plate and we're going to try this. Because I think it's going to be delicious. Now rather than eat it from the end, I really want to see the filling. So typically, we would eat from the sides over, but I want you to see the filling, so I'm going to go ahead and cut in the middle, and just look at that. That is fantastic. Look at that. Now let me take a taste so I know that it's okay. That is outrageous. It's not just okay. It is absolutely outrageous. McDonald's, eat your heart out. I'm telling you, if you make one of these, you're never going to eat one of those drive-through ones again. I promise you that. Now, you can make this, and I know you can, and I know every one of you can, because I've never made it before, ever. This is a first. I read a recipe. I thought, that looks really good. Looks like I can do it. And you saw the process the first time over. So is it perfect? No. Did it roll out 100% disc like the professionals? No. I don't care. My grandkids, my husband, and I are going to be loving this. So enjoy it and let me know how you do. Let me know how yours turns out, because that crust is to flipping die for. Okay? Thank you. Bon appetit.